Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your geographical location. Thank you for joining me this evening. This is the part two of the story of Natasha Putin in regards to sexual harassment. But sexual harassment does not only apply to married women or to women, it also concerns the men as well too. But in this context, is focusing on the women, particularly the married women in Nigeria as it is. We can see what has happened, and it's a culture there. We can't deny it. And for the fact that it's a culture, we need to speak about it. And our women also need to come out to speak about it. And also, where possible, false allegation must be avoided. And I'll be joined with by another a woman who probably will be able to weigh into this. I'll be taking it from a different angle. So thank you for joining me. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. I don't know if you've been following the case of Natasha Akpoti in the matter of sexual harassment. And before I start to ask you questions, I don't know if you have anything to say in that regard.
Yeah, I actually heard about it. Though it's not a story that I'm currently following, but I heard some things about it. Have reporting to international community and all of that. So I have an idea. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to play a very short video that she made. I had to cut the clip out. Then I'll put two or three questions with you. Again, thank you for joining me. We're not going to stay longer.
All
I'm not
right.
going to keep you here longer than necessary.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
here is the video.
Moved me to. And from then, I opened up to my husband, which was very difficult to do because the Senate president was good friends with my husband at that time. But I had to manage a whole lot of this for one whole year. So I opened up to my husband. I said, listen, this is what I have been going through. I have been going through sexual harassment, and it has impacted negatively on my ability to work as a duly elected senator.
Yeah.
Yeah. My question is this. Yes, sexual harassment do happen. Not only to married women, we have in
Yeah.
students, in the place of work.
Mm-hmm.
At what point should a woman open up to a partner? Because there she said it took her 1 year. Why do you think it took her so long to tell her husband about it?
Oh, all right. Thank you. It took us so long because men's nature. The way men reason is quite different from the way women reason. There are some men, it depends on an individual anyway. There are some men that when you discuss some certain things with them, they already believe you're into it. So it's difficult for them to understand the fact that you are actually going through all that. They want to believe maybe at some point or the other you've actually given in. So you always want to make that your last option, especially when you've gotten to the crossroad and you have nowhere to turn to. Of course, your husband should be the next person to speak with. But it's not always the first person to speak with because every woman or every lady will always think, I'll handle it till it's obvious that the thing is getting out of hand. And somebody that should come to your rescue or that should kind of give you a peace of mind should be your husband or your partner. Yeah.
All right. When you, I mean, because this thing happens at the place of work, you said
Mhm.
the husband or the man probably will think she has already given in. Why would she?
Yeah.
Why would a woman think that way?
Yeah, because at times when some people come forward to a kind of telling you things that are unheard of. You just want to believe that, oh, maybe I didn't hear him right. Because I heard in one of our video when she said, the standing president was like, okay, maybe we'll be coming to this apartment to enjoy ourselves. And she was like, maybe she didn't hear right. So at times, hearing from someone for the first time is not enough to jump into a conclusion to say, this is what this person actually means. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
you
I'm
want to
getting.
be sure that is this man actually thinking the same thing you are thinking? Because it's a huge allegation. So before you open your mouth, especially considering the office she occupies, so it's a serious. huge allegation. So before you jump into a conclusion, then you really need to be sure of what you heard. It is when you are very, very sure and you think you've got a man that can support, because it's not all men that can support. Some might not be able to handle it. Some might not have the capacity to even help in any way. Some might even turn it to a kind of drama in the house to think, oh, and they will begin to interpret every of your actions to be, oh, is it because the Senate president is after you now? That's why we cannot tell you to go and prepare food and you give us food in peace. That's why I said it depends on an individual. Understand?
I find that very funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, but cool. Okay, listen. There's this issue of sex for results in the university, sex for work,
Yeah.
sex for promotion.
Yeah.
Could that be a contributing factor for the woman or any woman not to open up quickly to her husband? The fear of maybe losing her job, the fear of not getting the grade, could that be a reason for not opening up? Because she said it took her one whole good year for her to open up, because the husband is a family friend as well
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And that even made it more difficult, because some men might not believe that, but he knows you are my wife, and he still has the guts to say that to you. At times, you might not even be able to predict your husband how he's going to react. His reaction at times might just ruin the whole thing. Some men are so jealous that you never can just predict them when it comes to reacting to things like this. So there are many reasons why you might not want to talk. For example, what you said, there are sexual harassment everywhere. I have my own experience as well. I don't
That's
think there's
nice.
any lady that doesn't have. Yeah.
That's interesting. You can
Yeah.
share it if you want to. It's up to you.
Oh yeah. Of course, when I was working as well, I had, few of my bosses that harassed me sexually. In fact, there was a time I was lodged in the hotel room. Two of them came to my hotel room. These are bosses that are, how do I describe their position? They've occupied that top position, that standing with them and even looking at their face is like facing God. I don't know if you understand what I mean. The fear of saying no is always there. But if you know what you want, because the Nigeria that we are, there are so many things that comes to saying no. Before you say no to this kind of harassment and all of that, you should be ready for the consequences. And that is what is happening to Natasha now. Imagine somebody accusing you of something, instead of a panel to be set and investigation to be made, the next thing she's suspended for 6 months. So if somebody of that high caliber can go through all that, then an ordinary Nigeria, what do you expect? So many people have given in to this kind of things because they could not just afford to lose their job. Some could not afford to graduate with third class or a lower degree. You understand what I mean? Like I was saying, my own experience, I couldn't even look at my boss when he was saying it. I was sitting on the tip of the bed, he was sitting on the chair, and it was like, he wanted this. Even while I was replying him, I was looking at the ground. Because to me, it was as if, is this a joke? Somebody of this caliber coming to my room? And thank God for where I work, really, because there is a no to sexual harassment. You can report that person. But I chose not to report because I wasn't forced into anything. When I said no, it was taken in good faith. And though after that time, there were still series of messages and all of that. But, there was no much of pressure. So I just felt there was no point reporting. So there are so many things as women that we keep to ourselves. It's not because, and this person knew I was married. But the truth is, they don't care. And that's even more painful.
Why do you think the men don't care?
Because they just want to have fun. It's not as if they love you. It's not as if they have any feelings for you. They just believe they've gotten to a certain level in life where they can just choose to do whatever they like. That's the way I say it. And
And
anybody
do
can be
you
a
think
victim.
if she had given in to the demand, even though it's still termed as allegedly, but there's from my opinion, there is a level of truth in her claim. Do you think if she has given to the demand, she will have that boldness to come up and be speaking?
No, nobody will give in and have that boldness to still speak. I don't think so. When these things happen, some level of frustration sets in. You want something and you'll never be given just because you have said no to a request. You understand? If she has said yes, we wouldn't have heard all this. Everything would have just died down within them. You understand what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because she said she actually lost it, and I can
Hmm.
understand where the frustration would drive her to lost it on the floor. And
Yeah.
a lot of people
Yeah.
have criticized her. Oh, she's
Yeah.
that, she's this, she's this. But I won't, because I understand where
Hmm.
she
It
is
happens.
coming from.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. So let's move away from there. No, before we move away from there, what would
Hmm.
be your advice to women or ladies who are going through because let's face the fact, it
Yeah.
happens every day,
Yeah.
and
It
the
does.
culture, because there is no
Hmm.
proper there is law, but no proper accountability in the country. You can't
Hmm.
even,
Hmm.
when you come out to say such things, you are seen as a bad person. The lady is seen as a
Yeah.
bad person.
Yeah.
But what advice will you give to women or ladies who are going through this going through this ordeal at this very moment?
Oh, yeah, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot, and it depends on individual situations. There are some people that are breadwinners of their families. They might not be able to say no because they know that if they say no, the whole family is in shambles.
Oh,
You understand what I
hold
mean?
on one second. Hold on
Yeah,
one
yeah,
second. You said you mean there are some women who are breadwinners of the family,
yeah,
and saying no is
yeah,
not an option.
exactly. That's why I said it depends on individual situation. If you want to say no, it's always good to work in an environment where your rights are being protected.
But
Like I said,
the context we're talking about is in the
yeah,
context of in Nigeria, where
yeah.
women rights are not being protected nor
No, there are
recognized.
some organization you work with that your rights are being protected. I'm lucky to work in one of those organizations. If I had been pressurized more based on my own personal experience, at some point, I had an evidence. I had a recorded voice note because I was thinking it would get to a level where, I might not, that I needed to defend myself. And, when you are talking about defending yourself, we're talking about evidence here.
Yeah.
So I was
So
already trying
what
to
you're
get my evidence
suggesting
to
is,
set.
or what you're saying is, any woman, or suggesting any woman who finds herself in that situation
Yeah,
should at that point start to gather evidence.
I'm telling you, that's the truth. God, because that is the only thing that will make people believe you. Do everything you need to do to get people convinced that this actually happened. If it's going to take you going to them, setting up a recording device and all of that, trying to record the conversation and all of that, just do what you need to do, because at the end of the day, you need to protect yourself. You don't want to do this and somebody wants you to do it. So in order for your case to be genuine, in order for people not, because in Nigeria we are quick to say, oh, she's just looking for attention, or
Yeah, that's
oh,
what most
maybe,
people are saying. She's looking for attention. In fact,
yeah,
there's a video I would have played where the
yeah.
media publicity of the
It's
Senate
so
said
sad,
it's because she's
honestly.
beautiful. That's why she's having that
It's
problem.
so sad. Beautiful people are prone to all this. Yeah, because everywhere you go to, people just see you and say, oh, beautiful. And even if you're a grandmother, they still want to. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
really crazy,
So,
honestly.
for the viewers, the advice is when
Mm,
you're going through this situation, gather as much evidence as
yeah,
possible. It's
yeah,
a way of trying to clean up the society, because
yeah.
in order for you not to be seen as a liar.
Yeah.
That aside, what is your take in the present current situation? I don't know if you follow politics. No, you follow the Nigerian situation. According to Google,
Somehow.
Nigeria is in Netflix.
Somehow.
We don't need Netflix in Nigeria because Nigeria itself is
Mm,
Netflix. By the time you
exactly.
turn on YouTube, you see one
Yeah.
drama or
Mhm.
the there. So, but
Yeah.
in summary, what's your take on the current situation in Nigeria at the moment?
What situation to be precise, if I may ask?
Uh, which one, which one should I mention? There are so many.
Okay.
We have that
There
of
are so
River
many
State. We
situations
have
on
that of
social media.
anyone that you know of. Just anyone because there's so many.
Oh yeah. Well, I want to talk about the paternity issue anyway. You
Paternity
know.
issue. The floor is yours.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk about the idea of men not standing up to their responsibilities. It's really painful. When you've got both parents taking care of a child, it's too much of a thing to do. Compare that to somebody standing in as a father or as a mother. You know, so many people have talked about it, but I would just like to say my own point here. Whatever it is, like some people were saying that, oh, at the end of the day, when a child grows, the mother knows how to turn him or her against the father. It's not true. Children are not crazy. They can see. Children wants to be loved, they wants to be cared for. There is no father on earth that will care for a child and the mother will succeed in turning the heart of the child against the father when the child grows up. It's not possible. It's a no-no. We've had cases of men that have abandoned their children, and we've also had cases of women that have abandoned their children. But in my own opinion is whoever abandons any child to any of the spouses should be ready to live with the consequences. You understand? It is when this child grow up and they become something in future that you see a mother or a father coming out to say, oh, this is my biological child. If the child has been something else, nobody would have come out to claim any. Then it's high time that stepfathers, stepmothers should begin to realize that their labor on somebody else's children or child is not going to be in vain. You cannot train up a child as a baby till the child grows up, and maybe the child wants to celebrate something, and you say, "Oh, let the biological father comes." What happens to the dad that has always been there all this while? What happens to the dad that has always been taking the child to school, through the hospital, here and there, and all? It's a whole lot. To whom much is given, much is expected.
All right.
You
Okay. Yes. In this situation, how about the cases where it is actually the women that refuse? I mean, extreme cases is when the man poses as a danger to the child, but
yeah.
we're not talking about that. That's an extreme situation.
Okay.
The situation I'm trying to highlight is because there is a field or the uh,
Mm.
separation or whatever it is between the dispute between the man and the
Yeah.
woman,
Mm.
and the woman actually uses that child as a weapon against the man, refusing the man to see the child. What would you say about it?
Thank you. To me, that's not fair. You cannot use a child as a form of bait. It's just not fair. If a father wants to be in a child's life or a mother wants to be in a child's life, so let it be. It's not a good thing, really, but it is not enough for that man or a woman to relax and say, actually, I've made effort and I'm not being allowed, so let me just relax. No. I have a brother that has got a child somewhere. And each time she makes effort, he makes effort, the woman is always. But my advice to him is send money to your child, and anytime you have to do so, do that through a bank transfer. Never give him or the mother cash. Let all what you spend on them have records. It's not because of today. It's because of tomorrow. Because such children are crook, they are quick to grow up and say, oh, my father didn't care, my mom didn't care. No, you've got an evidence, you've got a bank statement to say every month I was doing this. And before you jump into that, before you conclude into doing that, you should have there's no effort that you made on your child that is too much of a thing to do. You're trying to see your child and the other partner is saying no. Do what you need to do to have access to your child. It can even get in the authorities involved. Because to bring any child to this world, it takes two to tango. So if the other person is not ready to cooperate, then you get the authorities involved. But most people will just relax and say, well, I've made efforts. Nothing is forthcoming. So I'm just going to relax. No. Because in most situations, you will never see any woman that will relax leaving her child with a man. Even if going back and forth is going to make something else happen to them, they will keep doing that. That is the power of a woman for you. It's not easy for a woman to give up on any child, but it's easy for the men to just say, well, I've been there twice. She didn't allow me in. I'm just going to continue living my life. That's not nice because you never can tell what that child is going to become. Even if the child does not become anything, it's still your blood. It bears your name. They understand what I mean? So it's not enough reason for anybody to give up. Do what you need to do to have access to your children or your child,
Okay.
as the case may be.
Finally, I'll take you back to the issue of sexual harassment. I think
Okay.
fair is fair.
Okay.
We only focus on the secular world workplace. This also takes place either in churches and in
Yeah.
mosques. But
Mm-hmm.
let's focus on the churches. How do you handle? Is it the same principle or application of having evidence when it comes to the issue of sexual harassment in church, or do you think there is no sexual harassment does not take place in the house of God?
Mm. I'm not going to say it doesn't take place in the house of God because I'm also a victim. I'm a victim too. I've gone to a church for, okay, pastor, pray for me. And before I knew it, he was making another move entirely. So the sexual harassment happens everywhere, even within siblings, brothers and sisters of the
Yeah.
same parents. It happens. So to say it doesn't happen in a church is an understatement. It happens everywhere.
Okay.
But
So, what do you do in that event? Do
yeah,
you gather evidence, or do you report the pastor to the
yeah.
board, or what?
Before you report any issue that has to do with sexual harassment, please have something to back it up. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
In the case of churches, some pastors are just too holy out there. That if you like jump from the 15th floor to the to the ground, nobody will believe you that this person actually did this or this person actually did that. Nobody. So the only thing that you've got in your power, in your care, is your evidence. Yeah. So that when people have it, even if people are saying, no, she cannot do that, she cannot do that, okay. And when we're talking about sexual harassment, there's something I also want to point out. It doesn't have to do with women alone. Some men are also harassed sexually.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean,
Yeah,
I will go to we'll go to
yeah,
the men's one. We'll finish with the women's one because I
yeah,
really want to hear your take
yeah,
in that how men are sexually harassed. Maybe
yeah.
okay, okay. So, uh, men being sexually harassed. How do women harass them?
Oh,
You're a woman,
some,
so you'll be able to tell.
yeah, some some were harassed as young people. Do you
Okay,
understand? We've had,
that's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
we've had cases of house helps harassing young boys. You know, those days, it is only the female gender that gets much of this protection. That don't follow men, don't go with men, you're gonna get pregnant.
don't have house
Most of the
boy,
time, the men are left alone to survive on their own. The guys are left alone to survive on their own. But these days, even these small boys, it has started for so many years. Even these small boys need to be cared for as much as the female are also being cared for. Because the worst is we are not even talking about a woman harassing a man now. We've had cases of the same gender harassing each other.
Okay, for a grown-up man like me, how
Yeah.
do you think a woman can harass me, sexually harass me?
Yeah. The
If I
best weapon to harass any man is poverty.
Poverty.
Yeah. When a man is not man enough, when a man wants what he does not have, it is easier. It is a weapon for a woman to harass him. Okay, you want this? Just do this to get this.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll take note of that so that I don't find myself in that situation.
Of course, because and some men, it's not as if they are not comfortable in their own zone, but because they've got too much of what we call long throats, they want to have a plane, they want to have the best of cars. That's why some of them follow all these big women.
Yeah, but that is a greed. That doesn't fall under
That's greed,
sexual
yeah.
harassment.
It's not because they love them. It's not because they want to be with them. They've got the relationship that they love somewhere and they've kept it hidden somewhere from that woman. You understand what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I get you.
greed, just like you said. So they might call it harassment, but for me, I won't call that harassment because you wanted something and you have to do something to get what you want. So
Thank you very much.
yeah.
In a nutshell, what you're saying is anything that has to do with sexual harassment, particularly on the side of the women, married or not, it
Yeah.
is evidence based, or it must
Yeah.
be evidence based. Because
It must be.
if you don't have it, people
Yeah.
won't believe you,
Yeah.
as it
Yeah.
is now, particularly in the space in that space called Nigeria, where women are always put at the back bench or
Mm-hmm.
we don't believe them. But
Yeah.
about do you think women's dressing, where they expose their cleavage, could also contribute to or could be defined or seen as them sexually harassing men?
Yeah. I might say yes and I might say no to that. Because as an adult, some level of self-discipline is expected.
For the man or the woman?
For both.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, what we call private parts these days is no longer private.
It's public.
There are some level of dressing now that if it were to be those years, those days, that person will be seen as a crazy person. Nobody will even want to associate with you. But now, it has become the new normal. If you ask me, there are some level of dressing that are so provocative. In as much as a man is trying to be a disciplined personality, as human beings that has got flesh and blood running in his veins, there's what we call responding to stimulus. There are
But
some things you respond to that
it's
you're
not.
not even prepared.
But it's not in all cases. A man
Um,
doesn't necessarily have to see a cleavage before he gets turned on.
He doesn't have to, but when he now sees it, there's a higher percentage of him getting aroused. That is why some of them even rape. And some of these things, if you ask me, some women also do them intentionally.
Yeah, I can agree with you
Yeah.
on that. Yeah,
Because
I
they just
can
want to
agree with
capture
you
the
on that.
attention of the guy.
For
You
a
know?
guy, because the one I know is when they will unbutton their shirts up to this
Uh-huh.
point
Also a
and
level
leave it
where
there.
even
And what
the fellow women that can see that will be wow. There's this guy on Facebook. I love the fact that he goes after people that doesn't dress well and tries to make them go back home to dress well.
Yeah, I think I saw
Yeah,
that video, but I think,
it's
in
a
my
good
opinion, I
thing.
think that is being, I think it's not in its place to act in that way, in that manner. I
Yeah.
think that is, to me, that is too much of an embarrassment to the person.
Mhm. You might say that, but if you watch those videos very well, the guy will not just start by embarrassing. The guy will be like, "You cannot dress this way. Please go home and change." Those dressing, even we that are the same gender with them, we feel God. How can somebody dress this way, really?
Well,
You know? And
but
if
don't
you
you
want to
think
dress
that
up,
is
even
the
the people that
guy?
we are copying, the
Don't you think
white
the
people
guy
that
is
most of them are
harassing?
copying,
The guy
say,
is harassing them. That
well,
kind.
it will, I think the guy is just trying to pass a message. It might be a kind of harassment, really. But if you look at the message that is being passed here, I'm sure that the area where the guy operates, people will now think very well before going out. Because all these people that we are imitating with our way of dressing, they don't dress that way and stay on the roadside and be looking for a bike. They take
Mm,
taxis or they take their personal cars. And they
I
don't get
don't,
down until
I
they get
don't
to their
think
final
so,
destination.
because during summer
Mm.
in the Western world, mostly you see them almost, some of them are almost naked, walking on the streets.
Yeah, because most of them they are not used to that kind of weather. Even in UK, there are some extreme weathers that even there will be warnings on the news to say the something. People that weren't born in that kind of a weather. What do you expect? People that have got 80% of their weather to be the cold one. So when they are lucky to get sun, of course, they will just want to explore the situation. But we Nigerians that are used to sun 24/7, we don't really have cold weather over there. Well, then
If
you understand, you
Sorry,
don't
go
have
ahead.
to. There's some level of dressing that as a parent, and that's why parents really need to do a whole lot. Unfortunately, the world we live in now, that was why I said there's something called new normal. The world we live in now, there are so many things that are coming out, and people are seeing it as normal things.
Okay,
Which shouldn't
if you just highlighted the guy, I've seen some of his videos that goes after
be.
ladies considered dressing inappropriately. Now,
Yeah,
you know the very dark man. Will you
yeah.
consider his dressing appropriate or inappropriate, or because it's a content creator?
Oh no, not because it's a content creator. I expect you to say maybe because what he does it for the interest of majority.
What do you mean
You
by that?
understand? Yeah, of course, very dark man is somebody that fights for the rights of people.
So
And
does
this is
that give
someone,
him rights to open his chest? Because you just highlighted the guy who goes
if
after
you ask
women who
me,
dress inappropriately.
yeah, if you ask me, men dressing inappropriately, when they open their chest, to me, on a social media, I would say no. But I don't think most women get aroused by just seeing your chest. I don't think
How
so.
do you know that? How do you come to
I
that
said I don't
conclusion?
think so. I
You
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so?
Yeah,
So
I don't think so. Just looking at a man's chest and you're already all over the place. Because one thing about men that does all these gym exercises and all of that is, even if they wear t-shirt, it still shows that
of
they
course,
are broad chested.
it's for the,
Yeah.
at least most of it is for the opposite sex to see their six pack and their biceps
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything.
So whether the six pack is exposed or is covered, you cannot hide it. So a woman that loves that kind of a shape will always love you, regardless of whether you are putting on a t-shirt or you are not putting on anything. But coming on the social media to dress that way, well, at times there's what they say: don't judge a book by its cover.
But I think this is I don't know which word I want to use. If
Yeah,
it was the other way, I would say this is sexist, maybe towards the women, but it can
yeah.
also apply to the man, because you just
Because
highlighted
men has not got
the
anything on their chest to harass anybody.
you
It's
think
only a
so?
woman that have got something on their chest. Yeah.
No, 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 no. Okay, what
Well,
turns women? Okay,
that's
what
my
turns women
opinion.
on? Okay, what turns women on? If okay, is it what? See, what they must see something in a man that turns them on.
Yeah, the main thing turns them on. When you talk about a man that is not dressing appropriately, well, maybe you are talking about a man that has got boxers on.
No, but I mean,
So,
you're talking about we're using the very dark man as an example. He doesn't put on,
yeah,
most of the time, he doesn't put on any top.
yeah.
Is that appropriate? Because we are condemning the ladies now that are
Mhm.
dressing inappropriately, but we are
Yes, and
leaving the
that's what I'm
men.
saying, that dressing inappropriately varies. So there are some dressing that might be inappropriate to you and might be appropriate to me. You don't
Okay.
understand?
I get
Yeah.
what you're saying.
It's individually related. Some things you might wear. Okay, for example, some men, they don't really like women putting on trousers because they believe it brings the whole shape out. Some men might see that to be an appropriate dressing. And a woman that is putting down might say, no, it's just a normal trouser. You understand? And if the woman is naturally endowed, it becomes another problem. That, she's just taking the whole thing all over the place. So it depends. And these women that are naturally endowed, even if they put on skirts, it's still going to cause a kind of commotion. So what would they be wearing? So if you are to challenge
They
such a
should put
woman to
on,
say it's not
they
dressed
should put on
appropriate,
jalab. How do you call it? A female jalab.
because of what now?
The female jalab now, not to cause problem or not to create issues for the men. Again, thank you for accepting my invitation. Next week, Saturday, Friday, hopefully we'll be here again. There's another topic I'll bring up to you if something you're
Okay,
interested to weigh in. I will be
all
here.
right.
I said I'm not going to keep you here longer than necessary. So as I
Okay,
bring the this broadcast to an end, I will give you
thank
the
you.
floor for your last word, please. Your last word, please.
All right, thank you. Like I said earlier, I just want to use this opportunity to just inform people that no matter what you're going through, no matter what is happening to you, go through it with your family. No child deserves to be abandoned. They didn't beg to be born. I'm talking about mother or father here. It doesn't have to do with fathers alone. Take care of your child to the best of your ability. Thank you.
Thank you very much and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Take care.